Hola, ¿cómo están? And you already read the title of this video, so you already know what I'm about to talk about. In this video, I'm just going to talk about, Mexico City, la Ciudad de México, get my thoughts, opinions, perspective on the city. So, if you think about visiting here, whether it's for vacation or you just want to see the city, or maybe if you think about moving here, just stick around for what I'm about to say in this video. And before I get started, a real quick disclaimer. I'm speaking from a perspective of a visitor. I do not live in Mexico City. I have not lived in Mexico City. I've just visited a couple of times in Mexico City. So I'm just giving you my impressions as a visitor in Mexico City. Also, I speak Spanish. If you do not speak Spanish, your experience in Mexico City will be different. Okay, so with that out the way, let's get started with the video. I'm going to be talking about food, money, safety, culture, or the city itself, and people. First and foremost, money. So let's say you want to travel here. You say, I want to go to Mexico City, but I don't have a lot of money, it's kind of expensive. Okay, just speaking from somebody who's from the United States, I don't know if this applies to other countries as well, but if you're coming from the United States, Mexico City is relatively cheap. So, for example, if you come here and you want to get around the city, you can take the metro. That's good. It's efficient. It's on time, and it's cheap. I think it's like less than like $5 to take the metro, or like to get a pass to go wherever you need to go. Or you can take an Uber. Now you may be thinking, if I take an Uber, that's easy, like $20 per trip. $20 to go to the place, $20 to get back to my hotel, Airbnb, whatever. Oh, that's another thing. Airbnbs are cheap too. But let's stay on the Uber for a second. So taking an Uber. Now you probably think, it's gonna be like $20, $30 easy, just for one trip. No. In the United States, we already know Ubers are expensive. Here, it's not. For example, you could get an Uber going from like one part of the city to the other part of the city, probably like 15, 30 minutes away. You could easily just pay like $6, like max. Like, it's really not expensive. Like, the only time you're really gonna see like a $20 trip is if you're going somewhere that's like probably 45 minutes, maybe an hour somewhere, and that's like $30. In the United States, that'd be easy, like either close to $100, if not $100 itself. So like, it's very cheap to get around here. Now, as far as hotels and places to stay, for example, Airbnbs, you can find Airbnb for $10 a night, $12 a night, sometimes as low as even $8 a night. Now, granted, if you go for like the lower prices, let's just say like some of these Airbnbs are not going to be with all the amenities that you want. But in general, you can find some pretty decent places for like, very like way cheaper than Airbnb like anywhere in the United States. And like, if you stay for, let's say, like a week, even a couple of days, like you could easily just have to pay like, probably $60 for the whole stay, or maybe $100. You can pay more than that. They have expensive Airbnbs here, but that's like if you're just trying to get like the most luxurious apartment, the luxurious place. Like, if you're just trying to like have somewhere to stay that has like decent amenities, like shower, stovetop, like a decent bed, then you can easily find something that's cheap, that's not gonna break the bank. Now let's talk about the cost of food. Food is pretty cheap here. Now, if you're trying to go to like the more touristy areas, it's gonna be pretty much the same as it will be in the United States, more or less. But if you're going to like the more beat off paths, or like you go to like a street vendor or something, like you could get like decent sized meals for like cheap. Like, I'm talking about like $10, so you get this much food, or you pay like maybe $8 and you still get the same amount of food. Like, it's pretty cheap to like eat good here. Now, as far as the type of food they have here, I'm gonna get to that in a second. But let's go on to another topic. So let's talk about safety. So if you live in the United States, I don't know how it is in other countries, but if you live in the United States, Mexico has a reputation of like being a very dangerous country. Like, people swear up and down, the cartels running around everywhere. And, if you go outside, then you look like you even have the least bit of money, people just gonna come and rob you, stuff like that. Now, let me just say, Mexico is pretty dangerous, especially if you look at statistics and compare it to like some other places, like in general. But pretty much like always is exaggerated. What do I mean by that? So yeah, so you have to have more caution here than you would in like another place, or like in certain parts of the United States, or like in Europe or Canada, or maybe even some other parts of Latin America. Yes, but most people here are not going to do anything. Like, most people here are not going to go out their way to like make your life miserable. People here are like people everywhere. Like, you got your good people, you got your bad people. Most people are pretty decent. Like, most people not gonna come rob you, kill you, or anything. So if the reputation of Mexico has you scared, don't worry. It's not as bad as people say it is. Like, basically just have common sense. If it looks dangerous, if the person looks dangerous, if a place looks dangerous, don't go to it. If you're not familiar with a place, don't go there. If you look lost and look like a tourist, you're gonna be a bigger target than if you just walk around confidence, even if you don't know where you're going. And you'd be surprised how much confidence would keep you out of trouble. Just keep your wits about you, just be street smart, and then in general, like, you won't really face too many problems. Like, most of the crime is, just from my experience of what I've heard, is like mostly just between people who are looking for that stuff anyway. So now let's talk about food. Mexican food is pretty good. It has a lot of spice, so if you don't like spice, then this is not the place for you. If you like spice, this is the place for you. So depending on your tolerance level, the food in general could be too spicy or it could not be too spicy. Now, not everything here is spicy, so if you don't like spice, don't worry about it. You could go to a lot of places and just get like standard fare, like pizza, hamburgers. Not everything is tacos, burritos, and they have a lot more than Mexican food than tacos and burritos, by the way, just in case you didn't know. But they have a lot of different foods. They have the same foods that you would expect like any place in the United States. It's pretty good. I like it. I don't know how else to describe it. Now, one thing I will say is, if you're a vegetarian like me, it's going to be a little bit harder because they do not have a lot of vegetarian places here. In most places, you could go and like ask for them not to put meat in it, or you can ask for them to substitute certain things. But it's not gonna be easy. So let's talk about the city itself. Now, if you're from the United States, it's probably gonna be a little bit different for you. I'm just gonna put it like that. Because yes, in the United States, they have a lot of places that are run down, places that don't have everything they need to be. But from my experience, because I'm from New Orleans, Louisiana, and if you've ever been to New Orleans, you know that stuff like streets and certain buildings and a lot of places, they tend to look like run down, like nobody lives there or takes care of it. But it's not exactly the same, because see, even some of the worst parts of the United States, not saying they're not bad, don't get me wrong, but even some of the worst parts of the United States are better than some of the worst parts here. Mexico City is a developing country, so a lot of stuff here tends to like look old, beaten up, run down. It's not a jab at the city, but it's just something that you need to be aware of. Now, of course, the city has its nice parts, and they have a lot of nice things about the city. I'm not saying it's all run down, but I'm saying is you're gonna find a lot of stuff that is, or it's a lot of stuff that is run down in comparison to where you're probably from in the United States. Now, the next part I'm about to say, like, you don't really have to worry about this if you just visiting here, like, it's not really your concern. But if you're trying to live here, I'm just gonna know just from personal experience and other things I've heard, services here are as you expect. So, like I said, it's a developing country, so stuff like police, ambulance, stuff like that, it's not like bad. I'm not saying like it's not functional, but it is different. So as far as police go, me personally, I would not trust like the average Mexican like authorities. The police here tend to have a reputation of corruption, especially if you a foreigner. You're probably gonna have a harder time because they're probably gonna try to like extort you, or they're probably gonna like try to take advantage of you. So just like try not to get in trouble here, because like you're probably gonna have a hard time if you have to deal with the police, especially if you're a foreigner. Another thing, like other social services, like I haven't personally experienced this, so I'm just going based on what I hear. Like some stuff I've probably seen, they don't have the exact same systems in place, so it's probably gonna be harder to like get certain services, or sometimes they don't exist, or they don't exist in the condition that you're probably used to. So just be aware of that. So finally, the people. So the people here, in my experience, are overall friendly, or friendlier than what I experienced in most parts of the United States. Now, obviously, I'm not talking about everybody, which is why I say in general, people are people no matter where you go. You still got like horrible people that don't care, like don't have any kind of empathy or anything like that. But in general, people here tend to be a little bit more friendly, a little bit more open to talk. Now, as far as if you're a foreigner, especially if you don't look Latino in any kind of way, like from a Latin American country, if you look like black or white, people in general are going to treat you like with respect. But I will say just something funny, like from my personal experience, people do tend to stare at you, especially if you have a darker complexion. I'm not sure how it is for light skinned people, because I do see like a lot of white Mexican, but like especially like dark, like my skin color darker, like you will get stared at, because like there's not a lot of like foreigners, especially like darker skinned foreigners in general, not just black, but like just darker skin. But as far as like actual discrimination, like like what you doing here and stuff like that, like I haven't experienced that yet. But like I said, I've just been visiting. I visited a couple times. I'm not sure how it is if you actually live here, but like I haven't really experienced any kind of discrimination. So like don't really worry about like if I'm a foreigner and they're treat me bad. Like I mean, as long as you're respectful and act like you at least know, pretend like you know what you're doing, then most people just gonna treat you like another human being. or another thing I want to add before I end this video. So, big shock. In Mexico, they speak Spanish. Big shock, I know. The reason why I mention this is because if you want to get around in the city, like, you're gonna need to speak Spanish. Like, you're gonna need to at least know some basic Spanish. The reason why I'm saying that is because a lot of people, especially in the United States, think just because English tends to be like a language of business and like a lingua franca, how you want to pronounce it, people tend to think like, oh, I can just get around with just English. I mean, probably, like, but you're gonna be very limited in where you could go and like what you could buy and stuff like that. And even when they do speak English, it's not very basic, but it's just need to know English. So it's like, oh, how can I help you? What do you need? Blah blah blah. But if you try and do anything else, then it's gonna be very hard. For example, if you try to go to a restaurant and you order from the menu in English, like, oh, I want this. Can you give me this burrito with cheese? They go, okay, yeah, I can get you that burrito with cheese. But the minute like you want to start like adding substitutions, or like you want this thing but not this thing, or like you want to cook a certain way, then you're gonna start having some awkward conversations, because the English that most people know here, unless they just like learning it themselves, is just very basic, just to point A to point B kind of thing. So like, just learn like basic Spanish before you come in, and like your trip is gonna be a whole lot better. But yeah, that's it. That's my perspective, my opinion, my point of view of Mexico City. Like I said, I'm speaking as more of a tourist, a visitor. So like, if you're trying to actually live here, this probably was not the video for you. I should say that. But you're just trying to visit and like to get a feel of it. Maybe want to visit to see if you want to live here. Then this video should have served you pretty good. But yeah, that's the end of the video. Leave down in the comment sections anything you want to know, any more questions. Pass this on along to some friends. Thank y'all for watching, and I'll see y'all like always in the next video.